Indiana Newsdesk is made possible in part by Smithville Fiber Internet, streaming TV, home security and automation in Southern Indiana. More information at smithville.com. Mallard Grodner Attorneys, providing legal services to clients and the community. Understanding, expertise, results. Bloomington and Indianapolis. lawmg.com. IU Center for Rural Engagement, extending IU Bloomington resources to improve Hoosier lives in partnership with communities and organizations. rural.indiana.edu. And by WTIU members. Thank you.
Coming up on Indiana Newsdesk. Bloomington has had grand plans for the trades district for a number of years and has turned to the mill to develop the area.
And it can really build some tremendous new opportunities for not just Bloomington, but this entire region.
The city approved $3 million last week for a tech center in the district. It's the world's greatest college weekend in Bloomington, with men and women competing in the Little 500 bicycle races.
It's so much fun to be with the team, and then actually getting to race with them is just incredible.
The team that won the inaugural women's race in 1988 will be honored. And we sit down with the 3 Democratic candidates hoping to be Bloomington's next mayor ahead of next month's primary. We'll have these stories plus the latest news from across the state right now on Indiana Newsdesk. Welcome to Indiana Newsdesk. I'm Joe Wren. Well, it's been about 3 weeks since more than a dozen tornadoes touched down across the state. One of the most hardest hit areas was in Sullivan. Our Liz DeSantis revisited the community in southwestern Indiana to see how they've responded.
More than 200 buildings were severely damaged by the EF3 tornado that struck Sullivan County earlier this month. Now, 3 weeks later, volunteers have cleared many of those buildings away.
For this bad situation that we've been handed, the cleanup is made it look like a different place. Every day it just improved and improved and improved.
Aside from cleaning up the damage, some residents are looking ahead to rebuilding.
They're coming home just as soon as they can. As soon as they can get help to rebuild, they will all be back.
The few homes left in the area belong to homeowners still battling with insurance companies for a payout. Wolf says her insurance company says there wasn't enough damage to her home.
There is no roof. He asked, "Are you sure?" Well, there's a 26 by 26 foot skylight that was not there when I went to bed.
But a lot of residents in the area weren't so lucky to have insurance. Yoder Brothers Construction of Odin is donating labor and materials for a few of these blindsided residents.
It was like 3 or 4 days after the storm went through. I think they built the first building.
The team has already built a couple shelters on the south side of Sullivan and is finishing up the first house to be completely rebuilt in the area. FEMA disaster survivor assistance teams will begin going door to door in several counties that sustained damage in the storms, including Johnson, Monroe, Morgan, Owen, and Sullivan counties, to help residents apply for assistance. For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Liz DeSantis.
3 people in Sullivan and 2 people camping in McCormick's Creek State Park died in the storms. Monroe County Commissioners have suspended meetings of the committee discussing plans for a new county jail. The 3 commissioners voted unanimously to do so after extended discussion during Wednesday's meeting about the committee's lack of progress and its contentious nature. Commissioners also say they want to gather information about court processes before continuing.
Let's not lose sight of the fact that there's a great deal of agreement, but I think we're stalled.
Thursday, officials toured an 85-acre tract of land the county purchased 20 years ago just south of Catalent off Rogers Street as a possible jail site. Indiana lawmakers will have about $1.5 billion more to work with in the new state budget than they thought when they began crafting it in December. That's due to a rosier economic outlook driving up expectations for tax revenue over the next 2 years.
It always makes their job harder when there's more money because the more people asking. But you know, we're just fortunate to be in that position.
The 2 chambers still have to work out some key budget differences, education and school voucher spending, whether to accelerate tax cuts and how to provide property tax relief. Lawmakers have until April 29th to finish their work. Despite years of promising economic activity, Bloomington's trades district is still pretty much vacant. It's the 12-acre portion of the Certified Technology Park north of City Hall. It was created in 2005. Here's where the city's plans for the district stand. There's been a lot of talk about the trades district, but plans for a Tassus expansion, Envisage headquarters, and a mixed-use development from an Indianapolis developer have never panned out. The city has invested in the area. There's a new parking garage, roads, sidewalks, landscaping, and the Mill, the state's fastest-growing co-working space, launching and accelerating startups since 2018. The city asked the Mill to lead the development of the trades district.
They really look to us as somebody who has successfully taken an investment from the city and built upon it and turned it into something that is doing some demonstrable good in the community.
He says the first step was to hire someone that has real estate, startup, investment, and economic development background to take the district to the next level. The city announced in February that former Bloomington Mayor John Fernandez will lead the development and marketing of the trades district. Fernandez is the former U.S. Assistant Secretary of Commerce for Economic Development.
There's just a lot of activity that if we get it right and we bring things together right now, I mean, it can change a direction. It can really build some tremendous new opportunities for not just Bloomington, but this entire region.
Fernandez says the next step is finalizing plans and building the technology center, but that's just the start. He says they need to capitalize on investments and programs at NSWC Crane, microelectronics space at Westgate, IU, and others to help create momentum in the district.
And it's a bridge for investment to bring the kind of capital we need to help some of these emerging growth companies get moving and accelerating their growth.
And startups at the Mill are excited about the growth and the next phase. Folia CEO Ravi Bhatt studied at IU, went to Chicago, and moved back with a startup software company. He says the Mill has taken his business to the next level.
Those accidental collisions are the thing that, really drive a lot of ecosystems forward, right? Because you don't know who you're supposed to be collaborating with until you accidentally run into them.
He says the next step is to create an ecosystem of economic activity on a higher level, larger businesses collaborating with startups for research and development.
And if we get a few companies like that here locally, whether they're transplants from another market or we grow them from the bottom up here in the local community, I think it's going to have a transformative effect that will have ripple effects throughout the community.
Fernandez says to do that, the district needs to be a destination for the coveted 24 to 30-year-old demographic.
They don't want to hang out on Kirkwood. Sorry, there's plenty of people that do, but we got to create our own kind of unique community around the trades district.
He says post-COVID hybrid work is here to stay, and now there's a bigger purpose for the area than having offices full of workstations. East says the Mill has recruited 24 remote workers to move to Bloomington within the year.
This building that we're in now was a furniture factory, and making physical goods was how economies got built. Now it's quite literally on ones and zeros. It's all this software that you see on your screen.
And he says you don't need a large footprint to do it, just a backpack.
You can quite literally have a multi-million-dollar company run just from your laptop with remote workers, hopefully here in Bloomington.
He says the payoff is having these new folks with new ideas and new ways of looking at things available to help build the new economy. Fernandez says that's his vision of the trades district.
People working, people collaborating, people enjoying the space. I mean, we've got to get activity so that it is a community where there's a lot of energy.
And Bloomington City Council voted last week in favor of appropriating more than $3 million for the construction of the tech center in the city's downtown trades district. The world's greatest college weekend is upon us again, with the annual Little 500 bicycle races at Armstrong Stadium taking center stage. Videographer Amy Bushman put together this story on some of the competitors.
Little 5 is a fundraiser for Students Helping Students this year, and it's just a really awesome bike race that everybody gets super excited about.
I honestly didn't know what Little 5 was, and I'm from Indiana. I didn't really know until freshman year. It's just so cool to see everyone get together, Greek life, non-Greek life, to just all get together, have fun for a whole week, come support the riders who've been working really hard for a full year, and it's just a great time.
My favorite thing about participating in Little Five is getting to be a part of a team again. I was on a team sport in high school and really missed that aspect. And it also allowed me to just make my closest friends within my house and be a part of a really cool alumni network that has a really cool legacy to uphold.
It's a lot of road riding in the fall, it's a lot of track riding in the spring, rollers in the winter. So it's been really nice to have like a group of people to do that with. It makes it so much more enjoyable and so much fun because we spend so many hours on the bike every week. But yeah, I've had a great time.
Some days you just really don't want to come, but at the end of the day, you never regret coming to work out. We're very grateful for our coaches. They've put in so much time with us and we're so grateful to have them. I'm grateful for my team and getting to know them. I'll definitely miss them next year.
It's so much fun to be with the team, and then actually getting to race with them is just incredible.
Coming up next on Indiana Newsdesk. We sit down with Bloomington's 3 Democratic mayoral candidates to talk about the farmers market, their views on deputy mayor, and more. These stories coming up right here on Indiana Newsdesk.
Life is full of choices, and right now your favorite member benefit, Passport, is offering more choices for you to stream.
Welcome to the club.
It's a beautiful thing. With cooking.
I gotta let it cook, but I keep wanting to smell it.
Travel.
And here we are.
Oh, yeah!
Documentaries.
I realized I could change the world.
And so much more. The choice is yours with Passport on the PBS Video app.
Now streaming on the PBS app. The definitive collection of documentaries from award-winning filmmaker Ken Burns.
Hemingway, the man, is much more interesting than the myth.
It is a story that Americans have to reckon with.
He's got my job, I'm the town.
Discover over 40 groundbreaking films that bring our history to life. Stream the Ken Burns collection now with Passport on the PBS app.
Welcome back to Indiana Newsdesk. We received more than 100 questions from viewers for the candidates at last week's Bloomington Democratic mayoral debate on WTIU. Obviously, we couldn't get to all of them, so we had each of the 3 candidates in for sit-down interviews this week to answer more of your questions. We asked the candidates the same questions, along with some questions that were tailored to specific candidates. The full interviews are available on our election page at WTIUnews.org. Here's some of what they had to say. The deputy mayor role has been different for different mayors. A consultant study recently suggested that Bloomington could benefit from 2 deputy mayors. So what role would the deputy mayor play in your administration? Beyond loyalty, what specific skill set or knowledge are you looking for in a deputy mayor? And then one more, Cleo wants to know, who will you name as deputy mayor?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so first of all, I'm not gonna tell you who I'm gonna name as deputy mayor. You know, it's about assembling the right pieces. I know that I'm a big picture person, right? So I have to find my yin to my yang. I need someone that's detail oriented, that can look at my big picture ideas and say, okay, Don, we need to pare these down a little bit. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a taskmaster that will not only help me keep my staff on point, but also keep me on point. The deputy mayor, the job that I had, all the department heads would report to me, and I think we'll continue that on.
Well, that is not something that I am prepared to decide at this point. Anyone who comes out of this primary, of course, is going to have to do some transition work. I think probably the most important issue for my deputy mayor would be not loyalty to me, but a public servant, as I am, and someone who is committed to make sure that all the department heads, that all the employees that are working for the city of Bloomington are well prepared to do their jobs and do them with integrity. And we need to do some rebuilding in City Hall. And with respect to personnel, we do have some morale issues. We do have some very sad departures. And so myself and my deputy mayor are going to need to do some team building within City Hall to get that public service level up to where I'd like to see it.
A distributed leadership model has always been really important to me. I had a clear leadership team at Habitat for Humanity. The same is true at the Center for Rural Engagement. What that does is it establishes a system where not every decision day to day needs to be made by the CEO or the mayor, whatever the chief executive is. I don't know how many deputy mayors I'll have. What I do know is that I always balance my leadership team with my own gifts. I don't want people that excel in the same things that I excel in. It is actually necessary to balance our team. And this loyalty point is really interesting because what I look for most in a leadership team member is somebody who'll be really bluntly honest with me. I don't want a yes person. I want somebody who is going to discern what's really happening and really have the courage to say, you know, Carrie, I think we might be headed in the wrong direction here. Or what people are saying about this is that it's not working in these ways. Can we change it? That's the most critical thing that a team member can bring to me.
What's your vision for the future of the Bloomington Farmers Market? Having multiple markets doesn't have the same community feel. She feels that the city didn't handle all the disruption in a very positive manner previously. Do you see a path to combine the markets in a good way for Bloomington?
I don't think they need to be combined, but I do think they all need to be embraced, and we all need to work together. You know, sometimes a problem becomes an opportunity, and I've had a chance to visit all the farmers markets that are now out there, and each one has its own character. And each one is a different type of character. They're all Bloomington. They're all creations of Bloomingtonians, right? They just have different feels. So if we can get to a place where there are some collaboration and respect for all, I think we can move forward. My gosh, we could be this community that people come into regionally to go to all our different farmers markets.
I do. I was there for the past 2 Saturdays, and it really does make me sad that the downtown farmers market has seemed to lost a lot of its luster. It's been diminished in many respects. I don't think it's because we have markets elsewhere. I think that's a good thing. I think having the one at the Woolery, I think having them in multiple locations is actually healthy and maybe allows more people from other parts of the city to take advantage of our great farmers markets. But the one downtown does need help. And as mayor, one of the things I want to look at is how can we recruit more vendors back to that market? How do we make it more fun? How do we make it more of a destination point that people will resume that pride? That was such a gem, such a jewel of our community for so many years. So it can be restored, and I will agree that the way things were handled when things started to explode in the farmers market were probably not as ideal as they could have been. But that was then, this is now. We start with where we are and we rebuild the vitality of the farmers market. We can probably do that in a lot of ways. We might make parking free on Saturdays. We might want to reduce the vendors' fees to kind of bring some competition back. There are a number of things that I'm pretty sure we can do to make that destination feel safe, feel secure, and feel once again that welcoming. We want everybody to come to our market and feel comfortable.
I miss the vibrancy of the Bloomington City Farmers Market, and I would love to have an open discussion about how we might get that vibrancy back. I do see some benefits in having multiple markets, and so I would want to hear from those other markets how successful they are and how much focus on the Bloomington City market might impact them. I do, however, think that it was a real missed opportunity. Freedom of speech is one thing, but we also need to acknowledge and defend what was happening at the market, and the public meeting that was had. People just didn't feel heard. And that is it's a shame. So I know it's a legally entrenched issue, but it's a community treasure. It should be a place that everybody feels safe. And if freedom of speech has to happen in that way, I think the city can take equal actions to ensure that people of color are feeling safe, LGBTQIA plus people are feeling safe at the market.
What do you say to those who seek change and see you as a continuation of the Hamilton administration?
Wow. You know, me and John are different people, but I think we have to remember the fact that a lot of good has been done, and I'm not willing to throw away all the positive things that the Hamilton administration has done. I just want to build on top of that. I've got my own ideas, but I can only do those ideas because the foundation has already been laid. Like, we have a lot of buildings that we've done, a lot of ideas that we've put forward over the last, and we had to. Things had to be adjusted, whether they were our fire trucks or the way we did policing, right? I think this next chapter is more about the heart of our community. I think we have to start thinking about creating place, a sense of place for all. Because I think, and continue on with the progress that we've made with our infrastructure, you know, with more housing and those kind of opportunities. But I think we really have to focus on who we are as a community and where we're going to go forward. And that's why I'm here.
All right, I'm summarizing this question from an email we received from Bloomington Black Lives Matter. The group is concerned about some of the statements you made in forums. Noted a candidate event April 10th, you stated the violent crime is being done by the big guys that are coming here from Indianapolis, Chicago, other places, selling stuff to the addicted, that we're having a hard time with many of our unhoused population. So BLM says the language is racially coded, and they want to know if you see that, understand how language can have repercussions outside of their intention.
I do understand that. I understand the sensitivity of the Black Lives Matter individuals who are activists, and well, they should be. The comment was not intended to be racial in any way, shape, or form. It was actually fact-based. What I was referring to are called source cities. And this is information that I received from our local law enforcement, Chief Dekoff. We've had many conversations about what's driving the violence in our community, what's driving the crime. And he made it very clear that the state police, you know, even national level, will say the source cities where the drugs are coming from, which is primarily the source of the violence, no racial implication at all intended in that comment, are the bigger cities to our north: Chicago, Indianapolis, Detroit, to a lesser degree St. Louis, Louisville. But these are the cities where the individuals who are selling the drugs that are causing some of our major issues are coming from. And so no disrespect intended to anyone who takes offense to any language like that. There have been other words that I use that they've taken offense to, like civility. And I will stand by that because I operate in a very civil manner when I'm in the public, no matter who I'm addressing. I think it's important not to call people out, not to call people names, but to deal with the issues, deal with the facts.
All right, we received a handful of questions about your leadership style. They shared that IU recently settled a lawsuit in which you were sued for workplace bullying, and there have been high level of staff turnover at the Center for Rural Engagement under your direction. So can you speak to your ability to create a healthy working environment for city employees?
Yeah, first I just want to say that that is not factual. And so, you know, while I cannot speak about specific HR issues, I have never been sued for workplace bullying or anything of the sort. You know, in a time when lots of organizations are experiencing turnover, the CRE actually has not experienced any higher turnover than is typical. And the folks that did leave, actually, I'm trying to think of an exception to this. They left for promotions. They got better jobs. I'm really proud of the teams that I have led. I have lots of very long tenured colleagues. I've only been at the CRE for 5 years, but much of that staff has been there the whole time. And in fact, my longest tenured employee at Habitat came to work at CRE with me. I have worked with people for tens of years straight and have built really strong leadership environments. And it is true that I am a high impact leader that develops leadership teams and that I hold people accountable for the work that they do. I'm looking forward to working with the city staff, and I'm also a leader that has my staff's back all the time.
You can watch the full candidate interviews on our election page, WTIUnews.org. The Indiana primary election is on May 2nd, but you can vote early at the elections operations site on South Walnut Street through May 1st. That's the end of this program, but our work continues online as we cover the news throughout the week at WTIUnews.org. Have a great weekend.
Indiana Newsdesk is made possible in part by Smithville Fiber Internet, streaming TV, home security and automation in Southern Indiana. More information at smithville.com. Maller Grodner Attorneys, providing legal services to clients and the community. Understanding, expertise, results. Bloomington and Indianapolis. LawMG.com. IU Center for Rural Engagement, extending IU Bloomington resources to improve Hoosier lives in partnership with communities and organizations. Rural.indiana.edu. And by WTIU members. Thank you.